Hi everyone, it's Adam and Jill from the Professional Book Nerds, and today we're incredibly excited to be joined by Susan Orlean, best-selling author who's probably best known for The Orchid Thief and her work in The New Yorker, and most importantly for me, you're a fellow dog lover. So thank you so much for joining us in person. We're glad that you could be here today.
Oh, I'm thrilled. This is wonderful.
So as Adam mentioned, you are probably most familiar or known for The Orchid Thief. What do you remember most about the experience of writing that book?
Well, I remember being terrified because midway through the first sentence, I had the classic author's, terror of thinking, why am I writing this book? What is the point of this book? I'm writing basically the biography of a toothless orchid thief. Like, what is this about? But it was also the most profound experience for me was coming to understand what the nature of being a writer is, which is not what I thought I was learning about. But understanding the idea that being in love with something, being passionate about something, it doesn't matter what it is. If you are committed and devoted and care about something, your life is shaped by that. Whether it's that you're in love with orchids, or in my case, realizing that I'm in love with writing. And that is the sort of template of my life. And I think I came away understanding that, and I had never really understood it before.
It helps to be incredibly talented at your passion, by the way, which you are, which is wonderful.
Well, thank you. Lucky my passion is not growing orchids, because that I am not good at. But
so we talk to a lot of authors who do also, write for magazines, who do freelance writing or blogging and things like that. And a lot of them tell us the difference between those two experiences is obviously the length and the time and the research that goes into a novel. But New Yorker pieces are very famous for being incredibly well researched. And so for you, what's the difference between those? Because The New Yorker, I'm imagining it probably takes still a substantial amount of time for you to...
as you point out, the difference is not extreme. Mm-hmm. It's so different from, say, a newspaper reporter who goes out to write a book. I mean, we dig in and immerse ourselves in stories for the magazine much the way you do for a book. Mm-hmm. And the difference with a book is that instead of doing that intensely for a month or 2 or 3, you're doing it for a year or 2 years. The other thing is to structure a book where you're asking people to give you that amount of time. Mm-hmm. To say, this may take you a week or 2 to read. Mm-hmm. You have to be always attentive to the pacing and the tone and the seductiveness of the work. With a magazine piece, even the long ones don't require as much of a commitment. The other thing is a book stands alone. When you write a story for a magazine, you don't have to worry about the sort of shelf appeal, because people are buying The New Yorker and they're going to buy it and then look at the table of contents. There's a rare person who might go to a newsstand, buy an issue because there's a story they want to read. Generally, it's subscribers. So when you're writing a book, you have to be screaming on the shelf, this is really interesting. You have to take this book out. You have to buy this book. So there's a greater onus on you as a writer to somehow project to an audience that this is a worthy, interesting topic. And because I write about slightly odd subjects, I feel that in particular. I definitely feel it.
So, sort of on that topic, have there been any recent books that have screamed to you, you have to read this book? We would love to get some book recommendations from you.
Sure. Well, I recently picked up Soul of an Octopus Cy Montgomery, I believe, is the author, which is I don't read that much nonfiction. I think because I write it, I tend not to read it. But this is a nonfiction book about octopi, and it's very anecdotal. It's beautifully written, and it's also fascinating. I'm also reading the new Jesmyn Ward.
It's a Sing
Unburied Sing.
So good.
And she's amazing, so I would just buy anything that she wrote. A book I loved, the books that I love the most in the last year are Our Souls at Night, Kent Haruf, just amazing book. Department of Speculation, Jenny Ophel, which is a fabulous book. The Emily St. John Mandel, I'm blanking out on the title.
Me too. I can see the cover.
Oh my gosh. This is awful because.
Okay.
All right, let's look it up. Look it up.
Okay.
Somebody Google it quickly. I loved All the Light We Cannot See. I also recently read, even though it's not new, the Colm McCann Let the Great World Spin, which I thought was exquisite and just wonderful. And I have to put in a bid here, even though these books are not, I've read many years ago, but were among the most formative books that I've ever read. The Pat Barker World War I trilogy, Eye in the Door, Ghost Road, and Regeneration, which are just amazing. And finally, I could give lots of recommendations because I love to read. Kate Atkinson, Life After Life, which utterly just took over my brain, and A God in Ruins, the sort of sequel. Exquisite, amazing books.
That was incredible for us putting you on the spot.
I know.
Okay, well, we're going to have a whole bunch more with Susan Orlean, but to hear the rest of our conversation, this is how you plug things. Subscribe to us on iTunes or anywhere you listen to podcasts by searching for The Professional Book Nerds. And Susan, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.